Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into the absolutely incredible story of AppLovin, a company that managed one of the most stunning turnarounds you'll see in tech. We're going to break down exactly how they pulled it off.
So let's start with the big question, right? How on earth does a company's stock go up more than 25 times in just 2 years? I mean, that's not just a lucky break. This is a story about a massive strategic bet, some mind-blowing technology, and a company culture that, honestly, is almost impossible to copy.
And you can see the sheer scale of this comeback right here. I mean, look at this timeline. In late 2022, the stock is basically in the gutter, around $9. Then, bam! Mid-2023, they launched this new AI engine, and by early 2024, the rocket ship has left the launch pad, leading to that insane 25x growth. It's pretty wild.
All right, so let's dig into our first section, this stock explosion. It wasn't some random market event. Nope. It was the direct result of a huge, risky pivot that completely changed who AppLovin was as a company. The secret sauce here is something people call the Great Turn. AppLovin made this incredibly bold decision to sell off all of its mobile game studios. Just gone. And in doing that, they went from being this messy hybrid company to a laser-focused, super high-margin software business. They basically bet the entire farm on their core technology. But, selling the games, that was just setting the stage. For that bet to actually pay off, they needed to unleash a new piece of tech, something that would completely change how advertising works. And that brings us to what I'm calling the ROAS revolution. Okay. So to really get why AppLovin is so brilliant, you have to understand this one acronym, ROAS. It stands for Return on Ad Spend. You can forget about clicks, you can forget about installs. ROAS asks the one question that every business owner actually cares about. For every single dollar I put into this ad campaign, how many dollars do I get back? It's the ultimate report card for profitability.
And this, right here, this is a massive shift in thinking. For years, the old way of advertising was just a race to the bottom. It was all about getting the cheapest clicks, the cheapest installs, but AppLovin's new way, it just flips the entire script. The goal isn't just getting users, it's about finding profitable growth. So the question changes from how cheap to how valuable.
So how in the world do they do it? Well, it all comes down to their new AI engine, AXON 2.0. And it's this really elegant three-step dance. First, the AI predicts how much money a user is likely to spend over their entire lifetime before they even download the app. It's like a crystal ball. Second, based on that prediction, it makes a super precise bid to acquire that user. And third, and this is the magic part, it watches what the user actually does, and it feeds all that juicy data back into the system, making the AI's predictions even better next time. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This isn't just some theory. The results are real. A third-party study actually found that for e-commerce brands, advertising on AppLovin's platform gave them a return on ad spend that was, on average, 45% higher than on Meta's platform. 45%. That is a gigantic difference, and it just goes to show how powerful this focused AI really is.
Okay, so they've got this killer tech, right? But the real genius is how they built an entire business model around it that just gets stronger over time. That brings us to Section 3, the self-reinforcing flywheel. This is where that tech creates these compounding advantages that are so hard to compete with.
So every flywheel needs fuel, and for AppLovin, that fuel is called Max. This is the supply side of their world. It's a platform that tons of app developers use to manage and sell their ad space. Just think of it like a giant pool of ad inventory from millions of different apps, all in one place.
Now, you need an engine to burn all that fuel, and that's app discovery. This is the demand side. It's the platform that advertisers use. And you guessed it, it's powered by that brilliant AXON 2.0 AI. This is the engine that scans all that ad space from AXON and makes intelligent bids to find the absolute perfect, most valuable users for each advertiser.
But here's the critical piece that ties it all together and makes the whole thing spin. Adjust. This is the feedback loop for the brain. It's an analytics tool that tracks what users actually do after they've installed an app. Do they buy things? Do they play a lot? This is the crucial performance data that gets fed right back into the AXON AI, making the entire system smarter with every single user. And when you put all three pieces together, you get this beautiful, powerful, self-reinforcing flywheel. See? More developers on Max means more ad space. That attracts more advertisers to app discovery. That generates way more data for Adjust to analyze, which makes the AXON AI smarter. And a smarter AI delivers better results and makes more money for developers, which, of course, attracts even more developers to Max. The wheel just keeps spinning faster and faster. This quote really pulls back the curtain on their strategy, and it's kind of counterintuitive. AppLovin says their #1 goal for their Max platform is to make developers the most money possible. Get this, even if that means selling their ad space to one of AppLovin's direct competitors. Now that sounds crazy, right? But it's a brilliant long-term move. It builds incredible trust with developers, which guarantees they have the best and biggest supply of ad space, which, as we know, is the fuel for the whole flywheel.
So we've got the tech, we've got the business model, but a determined competitor could try to copy those things. The other secret weapon for AppLovin, what some people call their organizational alpha, is way, way harder to replicate. We're talking about their culture. And it might just be their most powerful competitive advantage of all.
Let's just start with this number, $4 million. Just look at that for a second. What do you think that could possibly represent? That is the estimated earnings generated for every single employee in their core software business. It's a mind-boggling number. It points to a level of efficiency that is just almost unbelievable. So the question is, how on earth are they doing that?
Well, it boils down to a few really unique rules they live by. First, they have what's basically a no-meeting culture. They prefer writing things down to protect everyone's time for deep, focused work. Second, everyone there is an IC, an individual contributor. That means even your manager is one of the top technical experts, actively building and coding alongside you. And third, they believe in super lean teams. In fact, that core AXON AI engine we've been talking about, it was originally built by just 5 people. It's a culture built for speed and impact.
So what's next for a company that's grown this much, this fast? Well, the last part of this story is looking at the road ahead, and let me tell you, it is full of both enormous opportunities and some pretty serious risks.
So you've got 2 camps on Wall Street. The bull case is pretty clear. Their AI is best in class, they're a financial powerhouse with huge margins, they're expanding into giant new markets like e-commerce, and that flywheel is just really hard to stop. But the bear case is just as compelling. Their entire business lives on platforms owned by Apple and Google, which is a huge risk. They're still super dependent on the gaming market, and after this epic run, the stock's valuation is sky high, meaning expectations are too. It's a classic high-risk, high-reward situation.
At the end of the day, the AppLovin story is about more than just one company's amazing comeback. It really forces all of us to ask a huge question about the future of the internet itself. Is the game no longer about who can buy the cheapest attention, but about who can get the absolute best at predicting human value? That's the multi-trillion-dollar question that AppLovin has bet its entire company on answering.